My husband told everyone I abandoned our baby. He just forgot that Nest camera footage doesn't lie, and I had the entire moment he physically pushed me out the door while our newborn was still inside. He told his family, our friends, even my own parents that I stormed out on my daughter and left him to be a single dad. What he didn't know was that the same cameras he bragged about for home security would end up showing a judge exactly who locked who out. Before I get into it, if you like long Reddit-style stories about toxic marriages, postpartum drama, cameras catching the truth, and legal revenge, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. It really helps more people find these full stories. I'm 28F. My soon-to-be ex-husband, Mark, is 32M. We have one baby girl together, Ava. She's the reason I survived what I'm about to describe. We met 5 years ago. At first, Mark was the textbook good guy. Steady job in it. Close to his parents. Volunteered at his church. Brought flowers to my office just because. He was charming in that slightly awkward, techie way. He remembered little details I told him. He'd text me good night every day, send memes, show up when my car broke down. I grew up in a messy home, alcoholic dad, exhausted mom, lots of screaming and slammed doors. Mark's family looked like a sitcom version of normal. Backyard barbecues, Christmas pajamas, group photos where nobody was crying. I craved that. We talked about kids early. He said, "Someday soon I want a family. A house, a wife, a couple of kids, nothing crazy, just something real." I said, "Me too, but I want to get my career stable first. I don't want to be trapped depending on a man." He laughed, kissed my forehead, and said, "You'll never have to worry about that with me." If I had $1 for every time someone lied right after saying that sentence, I'd have more than my student loans. We got married when I was 26. The first year was okay. There were little red flags that I treated like quirks. He wanted my location on all the time for safety. He installed indoor cameras for when we have kids or if something gets stolen. He got weird if I didn't answer texts fast enough and would say, "I was worried. You know I have anxiety." It didn't feel like control at first, more like overprotectiveness mixed with tech obsession. His family loved me, at least on the surface. His mom, Carol, would say things like, "You're so good for him, he finally has someone to take care of. You're going to make a wonderful mother, just don't wait too long." She said that one a lot. When I got pregnant with Ava, it wasn't an accident. We'd talked about it, I'd been promoted, we had some savings. For once, the timing actually felt right. When I showed Mark the positive test, he cried, real tears. He picked me up and spun me around. He told his parents that night. He made a whole announcement dinner. For a while, it was perfect. Then pregnancy actually started happening. I was exhausted, nauseous, emotional. My body wasn't mine anymore. Work became harder. I scaled back on extra projects. Mark started changing in ways I didn't have words for yet. He didn't hit me, he didn't scream. He just rewrote reality in small, constant ways. If I said, "I'm exhausted today," he'd say, "You're always exhausted lately. It's not that bad. My mom worked nights pregnant with me and never complained." If I cried over something small, he'd say, "You're being dramatic. It's the hormones. You're lucky you don't have a real problem." If I asked him to come to an appointment, he'd sigh and say, "Do I have to? You're fine, the baby's fine. I can't keep taking time off work just because you're anxious." I started feeling crazy. Pregnancy is already a mind game. Add emotional minimization on top, and you start to doubt your own senses. When Ava was born, everything exploded and then pretended to be fine. Labor was long. I had an emergency C-section after 17 hours. My body felt like it had been opened and stapled back together, because it literally had. In the hospital, Mark played perfect husband. Posted photos with captions like, "So proud of my warrior wife, 2 hearts." Brought me my favorite snacks. Charmed the nurses. But even there the cracks showed. The first night, when the nurse asked if he'd like to do the first diaper change, he laughed and said, "I'm more of the fun dad, not the poop dad." He took a photo instead. When we got home, our reality was nothing like his social media. I wasn't allowed to lift more than 10 pounds, but a newborn is about 7-8, and somehow I still ended up doing most of the feeds, the rocking, the changing. He'd say, "I work full-time, you're on leave. I can't function at my job if I'm up all night. My mom said she did most of the baby stuff and my dad focused on providing." His mom gave him a halo for every bare minimum thing he did. "He changes one diaper. You're such a hands-on dad, Mark. He holds the baby while I shower. You're so involved most men wouldn't." Meanwhile, I was bleeding, leaking, not sleeping, and barely had time to shower. When I mentioned feeling overwhelmed, she said, "Every new mom feels like that. Don't be ungrateful." The first time he said I was abandoning Ava, she was 3 weeks old. I asked him to watch her for an hour so I could go to my 6-week postpartum checkup that had been moved earlier because of some pain. "I can't," he said, not looking up from his laptop. "I've got a big deployment. Can't you take her with you or reschedule?" "I can't take a newborn into this clinic. They don't allow it in that department," I said. "And I've already rescheduled once. I'm still in pain. I need to go." He rolled his eyes. "So I just have to drop everything because you're in pain again," he said. "You're always in pain lately." I stared at him. "I had major surgery 3 weeks ago. I'm not being dramatic. Can you please just watch your daughter for an hour?" He sighed like I'd asked him to donate a kidney. "Fine," he said, "but don't be surprised if she screams the whole time. She needs her mom." Later, I overheard him on the phone with his sister. "She just leaves the baby with me whenever she feels like running off to appointments," he said. "I feel like a single dad half the time." I was gone for exactly 55 minutes. I had the Uber receipts. I didn't say anything then. I was too tired to fight. I should have, because that "she abandons the baby" narrative became his favorite story. Things escalated when Ava hit 6 weeks. That's when the real sleep deprivation kicked in. She went through a witching hour phase every night from 6 p.m. to midnight, screaming unless I walked and bounced and rocked. Mark would help for 10 minutes, then say the crying triggered his anxiety and go play video games with headphones on. His mom's line became, "You have to push through this, dear. This is what motherhood is." What about fatherhood? Nobody seemed to know. At my 8-week postpartum checkup, my OB gently mentioned postpartum depression and anxiety. I started crying. "Sometimes I get intrusive thoughts," I admitted. "Not about hurting her, just thoughts like, what if I just left and never came back?" The doctor nodded. "That's more common than you think," she said. "The fact that you're disturbed by those thoughts is a good sign, but you deserve support. Let's talk about therapy and maybe medication." I went home and told Mark. He smirked. "So you admit you think about leaving," he said. "I think about disappearing when I'm overwhelmed," I said. "That's literally a symptom. It doesn't mean I'm going to." He shook his head. "My mom said you're too emotional," he said. "Now you're talking about meds. I'm starting to worry about Ava being alone with you when you're like this." That sentence chilled me. "I would never hurt her," I said. "Being overwhelmed doesn't mean I'm dangerous." He shrugged. "Look, I'm just saying, if it ever comes down to it, everyone's already seen how checked out you've been. You're always crying, you're always saying you want to run away. People notice. It felt like he was laying groundwork. At the time, I told myself I was paranoid. I was. The night everything blew up was a Tuesday. Ava was almost 3 months old. I had been alone with her all day. Mark had a huge deadline and stayed late. By 8 p.m., I was running on maybe 2 hours of broken sleep. The house was a mess. Bottles in the sink, laundry half folded, cold coffee on the counter. I smelled like sour milk and tears. Mark walked in, looked around, and made a face like he'd stepped in something. "What the hell happened in here?" he said. "Have you done anything today?" I blinked at him, Ava fussing in my arms. "I kept your child alive," I said. "She's cluster feeding again. Every time I put her down, she screams. I haven't even had a chance to pee alone." He dropped his bag loudly. "You're on leave," he said. "You're home all day and you can't even keep the sink clear. My mom had 3 kids and always had dinner on the table." I saw red. "I had surgery, Mark," I said. "I'm still healing. You keep comparing me to your mom, but she had your grandmother and 2 sisters helping. I have me, and a husband attached to a gaming chair." He stepped closer. "Don't talk about my mom like that," he snapped. "She says you're lazy. I'm starting to think she's right." Ava started crying harder, reacting to the tension. I bounced her, tears stinging my own eyes. "Can you please just take her for 10 minutes so I can shower?" I said. "I haven't showered in 2 days. I'm begging you." He threw his hands up. "You know what?" he said. "If you can't handle this, maybe you're not cut out to be a mom." That one hurt. "Say that again," I said softly. "You heard me," he said. "Other women manage. You fall apart over dishes." Something in me snapped. "I am drowning," I said, voice shaking. "I have asked you for help over and over. You do the bare minimum and act like a hero. I'm not a maid. I'm not your mom. I'm your wife." He moved even closer, towering over me. "Lower your voice," he said. "The neighbors might hear how unstable you are." That word. Unstable. My therapist had warned me. Sometimes partners weaponize mental health. I held Ava tighter. "I'm going to take a walk before I say something I regret," I said. 10 minutes around the block. With the baby. I'll calm down, we'll talk later." He stepped in front of the door. "You're not taking her out like this," he said. "You're hysterical, you'll drop her." "I'm not hysterical," I said. "I'm overwhelmed and exhausted. I'm allowed to feel that without being called crazy." He grabbed my shoulder. "Put her in the crib," he said. "Go take your walk. You're not fit to have her when you're like this." My heart started pounding. "I'm not leaving her alone with you while you're this angry," I said. "Either I take her for a walk or I go to my sister S with her." His face twisted. "You're not leaving with my child," he said. "Go cool off. I'll handle her. It's not like you do such an amazing job anyway." I put Ava in her bassinet for a second to adjust her blanket. My hands were shaking. "Move," I whispered. "I need air." He looked at me for a moment, then did something I'll never forget. He stepped behind me, opened the front door, and shoved me out onto the porch with enough force that I stumbled. Before I could turn around, he slammed the door and locked it. I heard Ava start crying inside, louder, frantic. I pounded on the door. "Mark, open the door. You cannot lock me out with my baby inside." Through the door his voice came, cold and calculated. "Go take your walk. You're unstable right now. I'm protecting her from you." I saw the little blue light on the doorbell camera. His home security system was recording all of it. He forgot that. I didn't leave. I sat on the porch, sobbing, texting him, begging him to let me back in. He texted back. You need to calm down. I'm documenting this. You just admitted you can't handle her. Everyone's going to see you abandoned us. Abandoned. I hadn't even left the front step. After about 20 minutes of me knocking and crying, a neighbor came over, concerned. "You okay?" she asked. I tried to explain through tears. "My husband locked me out with our baby inside," I said. "He says I'm too emotional to hold her." Her eyes widened. "That's not okay," she said. "Do you want to call someone, the police?" I hesitated. Where I live, calling the police with a newborn involved can go sideways fast. I didn't want Ava taken by strangers because my husband was being abusive. So I said, "I'll be okay, thank you. I think I'm going to my sister S." I texted Mark again. "Let me in to get Ava or I'm calling the police." He replied, "You walked out on us. I'm done with your drama, go cry somewhere else." That was the moment I realized he wasn't just being cruel in the moment. He was building a story. "She walked out on the baby. She's unstable. I had to protect our child." I stopped knocking. I walked to my car, shaking, and drove straight to my sister's house. My sister, Hannah, is the opposite of Mark's family. She can be blunt, but she doesn't live in delusion. When she opened the door and saw my face, she didn't ask if I was overreacting. She asked, "Where's Ava?" I broke down. "He locked me out," I said. "She's still there." Hannah's eyes flashed. "Sit down," she said. "Tell me everything." I told her about the fight, the shove, the locked door, the texts, the neighbor. I showed her the messages where he said I'd walked out, and he was documenting. She exhaled. "He's setting you up," she said. "He wants to say you abandoned her." "I never left the porch," I said. "I was begging to come back in." "Did any cameras catch this?" she asked. We both froze. "The doorbell cam," I said, "and the indoor one in the living room. He put them there for security." Hannah's voice went flat. "Then that's our next move," she said. "You're not going back there alone. We're going with proof and a plan." She called her friend, who is a paralegal for a family lawyer. The friend said 3 words that changed everything. "Save the footage." The next morning, when Mark went to work like nothing happened, I went home with Hannah and her husband. I used my key. He hadn't changed the locks yet. Ava wasn't there. My heart dropped for a second, but then I heard her babbling from the bedroom with my mother-in-law. Carol was playing perfect grandma, cooing, talking baby talk. "Oh, look who finally decided to come back," she said when she saw me. "You left your child screaming for her father all night." Hannah stepped in front of me. "She didn't leave," Hannah said. "He physically pushed her out and locked the door. There's camera footage." Carol froze. "Mark told us she ran off," she said. "Said she abandoned the family." I ignored her. I went straight to the baby, picked her up, held her like I was never letting go. Then I went to the hallway where our Nest doorbell and indoor camera were wired. Mark had never changed the password since installing them. I knew the login. On my phone in the Nest app, I pulled up last night's footage. There it was. Me holding Ava, crying. Mark crowding me by the door. Him opening it and shoving me outside. Me pounding on the door, begging to come in. His voice through the door accusing me of being unstable and abandoning her. I screen recorded everything. Hannah filmed me while I did it, narrating the date and time out loud for context. We also pulled up the indoor camera in the living room. It showed me asking for help, him calling me lazy and unstable, him saying, "I'm documenting this." I saved those too. Then I went to the bedroom, packed a bag for Ava, grabbed important documents and told Carol, "I'm taking my daughter. If Mark has a problem, he can talk to my lawyer. She sputtered. You can't just take her, you left. Mark said you abandoned her. Hannah laughed once cold. We have the video of your son locking her out while the baby was inside, she said. If he wants to bring this to court, we're ready. We left. I shook for hours after. The next part of this story happens in 3 stages: smear campaign, legal response, and the part where the camera sees everything. First, the smear campaign. Within 24 hours of me leaving with Ava, my phone started blowing up. Texts from Mark. You kidnapped my child. You're unstable. Everyone knows you've been talking about running away. I'm telling my lawyer you abandoned us. Texts and calls from his mom. How dare you twist what happened? Mark told us you were screaming and scaring the baby. You're not taking our granddaughter away because of your feelings. Even my own parents called, confused. Mark called, my dad said. He said you left in the middle of the night and won't let him see his daughter. Did you really just walk out? I took a deep breath. Dad, I said, he locked me out and kept Ava inside. I have video. My mom gasped. You do? She asked. Yes, I said. He literally pushed me out the door. My dad's voice hardened. Okay, he said. Then we're on your side. Send us the footage. I did. To everyone. My parents, Hannah, the paralegal friend, the lawyer she recommended, 3 of my close friends. My own email once again because I was terrified of losing it. Then came the legal response. My new lawyer moved faster than I thought possible. We filed for a temporary protective order based on emotional abuse and the incident of being pushed locked out with the baby inside. Temporary primary custody for me. Supervised visitation for Mark until things were investigated. We attached the Nest doorbell footage, the indoor camera footage, screenshots of his "you abandoned us" text from the same night, a letter from my OB about my postpartum status, notes from my therapist about his pattern of gaslighting and control. Our lawyer also sent a very formal letter to Mark's lawyer. Any further statements to third parties that my client abandoned the child, in light of the video evidence to the contrary, may be considered defamatory and will be addressed accordingly. I found out through Hannah that when Mark saw the motion and attachments, he panicked. He'd been very confident telling everyone his version, that I had stormed out, that I was mentally unstable, that he had to protect the baby. He hadn't quite processed that security cameras don't care about narratives. He tried to spin it, of course. To some friends, he said the video was taken out of context. To others, that he lightly guided me outside for a break and didn't realize the door had locked. The video clearly showed him pushing me out and turning the lock. You could even hear the click. At the temporary hearing, the judge watched everything. We sat in that bland courtroom, me on one side with my lawyer, Mark on the other with his, our families in the back. I was shaking so hard my teeth almost chattered. Mark's lawyer tried to go first with the postpartum emotional instability angle. Your Honor, he said, my client's wife has admitted to having intrusive thoughts about leaving and struggling with postpartum depression. On the night in question, she was extremely emotional, screaming, and my client simply encouraged her to take a walk to calm down. My lawyer didn't say a word. She just turned to the clerk and said, Your Honor, with the court's permission, we'd like to play the Nest footage from that night. The judge nodded. We all watched myself on a 32-inch screen. Crying, holding Ava, asking for help. Saying I needed air. Him calling me unstable. Him opening the door, stepping behind me, and shoving me outside while I stumbled. The door slamming. his voice saying, "I'm protecting her from you. Go take your walk, you abandoned us." Then the indoor footage. Him sneering about the mess, calling me lazy, saying he was documenting my behavior. The judge paused the video. "Mr. Last Name," he said slowly, "is that you in this video?" Mark swallowed. "Yes, Your Honor," he muttered. "Did you, or did you not, physically push your wife out of the house while your infant child was inside?" the judge asked. "I guided her outside because she was hysterical," he said. "I forgot the door would lock." The judge hit play again, watched the little movement of his hand on the deadbolt, heard the click, hit pause. "I'm documenting this. You abandoned us," the judge read aloud. "That does not sound like someone who forgot the door locks, Mr. Last Name. That sounds like someone constructing a narrative." His lawyer tried to pivot. "With respect, Your Honor, this is a high-stress, emotional situation. My client was concerned for the child's safety." The judge held up his hand. "The only person I see putting this child at risk in this video is the man escalating a verbal argument and then locking his recovering postpartum wife out," he said. "Not the sleep-deprived mother asking for help." My lawyer then presented the OB letter and therapist notes explaining intrusive thoughts versus actual intent, emphasizing that I had sought help, not denied it. "She is doing exactly what we want postpartum parents to do," my therapist had written. "Asking for support, being honest about her feelings, and actively seeking treatment. Her husband has consistently minimized and weaponized those disclosures." The judge leaned back, steepled his fingers, and took a deep breath. Here's what he ordered that day. I was granted temporary primary physical custody of Ava. Mark was granted supervised visitation twice a week at a visitation center until further review. Mark was ordered to move out of the marital home within 7 days. I got exclusive use of the house for now. He was ordered to complete anger management and an individual therapy program focused on controlling behavior. The court explicitly noted that the video evidence contradicted his claim that I had abandoned the baby. He looked straight at Mark and said, "Mr. Last Name, the phrase 'she abandoned us' is not compatible with a video of you physically pushing her out of the home and locking her out while the infant is inside. Going forward, you will refrain from telling family, friends, or anyone else that she abandoned the child. That is a false statement that this court has now seen disproven." Mark's jaw clenched. His mom whispered something to his lawyer, furious. My lawyer squeezed my hand under the table. It was the first time in months I felt like I wasn't crazy. The smear campaign didn't stop overnight, but it lost teeth. Some people doubled down on he was just stressed. But others saw the footage. My parents, Hannah, a few mutual friends. One texted me, "I'm so sorry, I didn't know it was like that. I believed him at first, I was wrong." I'm still grieving that I ever had to show people a video of the father of my child shoving me out of our home. We're moving forward with divorce. The current state of things, as I'm telling this. I'm in therapy, working through postpartum plus emotional abuse. Ava lives with me. She sees her dad in supervised visits. The story in his family is still that I'm overreacting and trying to ruin his life. But the story in court records, that he locked his wife out of the house with a newborn inside and called it protection, and that the cameras he installed himself proved it. Looking back, I can see the pattern. Location tracking disguised as safety. Cameras disguised as security. You're too emotional every time I set a boundary. You're abandoning us every time I try to take care of myself. He thought all those things gave him power. He never imagined they'd give me evidence. So what do you think? If your partner locked you out of the house while your newborn was inside, then told everyone you abandoned your baby, and you had camera footage proving the opposite, would you forgive them if they cried and said they were just stressed? Or would you, like me, take that footage to a lawyer and let a judge decide what abandonment really looks like? Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, tell us whose side you're on in the comments, and subscribe to Reddit Story Vault for more full Reddit-style stories about relationships, toxic families, postpartum struggles, and legal revenge every day.